Good morning, guys, and welcome back to part 2 of our homemaking in the Homestead kitchen. I've got a lot going on today. If you missed part 1, we made a bunch of breakfast sausage and a few other things. And this is gonna be part 2, so it's actually been 2 days since I've done that. We made our homemade sourdough pizza. It was so good. I let the kids top their own little mini pizzas, and it was like in the 90s, so I didn't want to turn on the stove, so I ended up doing it on the grill. They turned out amazing, so I'm still perfecting my recipe, but once I got it, I'll share it with you guys. So today I'm making some sourdough sandwich loaf. This is my Bosch mixer, and I've had this since we got married. My parents had one when I was a teenager, and so after we got married almost 13 years ago, we used some of our wedding money so that way I can buy one. The only thing I don't like about it is it doesn't handle small batches of bread or dough very easily, so I have to make at least 2 loaves at a time. I do have a special attachment for smaller loaves, so I can do 2 in here. It works great if you're doing a ton at a time, but if you're only doing 2 loaves, you gotta have that small dough attachment in here. So we're gonna let this go through the auto lease, and I'm gonna sit and enjoy my coffee, and then I'll bring it back and I'll show you what we're gonna do with this next. So this has been sitting for a little while now. I kind of lost track of time. I am still enjoying my coffee, and look at this cute mug I got at Hobby Lobby. I wish it said choose joy, but I mean, I like it because it says choose kindness, and it's such a pretty, and it's huge. Anyways, so I've got my coffee still that I'm still drinking, and I did my hair and my makeup, and this has been sitting for probably about 20 to 30 minutes. And basically, like, the auto lease is just so that way all the moisture can be absorbed by all the flour can absorb all the moisture. So now I'm gonna let this knead for about 10 minutes. Sometimes I have to end up adding more flour. Not typically, because I usually aim pretty good, but I don't know, we'll see. This is a softer, stickier dough, so we don't wanna add too much flour. So I'm gonna turn this on. All right, so it's been kneading for almost 10 minutes, and you can see how nice it stretches. That means the gluten is nice and developed. It is kind of sticky. I probably could have added a little bit more flour, but I'm afraid it's gonna be too much if I do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and grease up my hands really good and put it on the counter. So I have this avocado cooking spray that I'm just gonna spray the counter with, and whoa, my hands are slippery. And my bowl, this is just avocado oil. It's not non-stick spray, so it doesn't have the lecithin in it, so it's just avocado oil. So I'm gonna grease my hands really good, and then that way I can handle the dough without it sticking to me. I love my Bosch machine, but it is a pain to clean. I want a KitchenAid. I used my sister-in-law's KitchenAid when we were in Texas a couple months ago, and I made 1 loaf and it came out perfect, and I'm like, I want a KitchenAid. So I like my Bosch machine, but I kind of want a KitchenAid so I can have, you know, the best of both worlds. So my Bosch machine has this special little thing, and it follows the curvature of this, so it's specifically made for this, and you can easily get out your dough. And actually, this is not the original one that it came with. The original one that came with, somehow I lost it or something, because, I mean, this machine is like almost 13 years old, and I was able to find this specific Bosch part on their website, and it's kind of funny because it was only a couple dollars, but shipping was like so expensive, but I needed it. It was the only place I could find the actual Bosch part. So if you have a Bosch machine, make sure you have this scraper thing, because it's a hard plastic, not the silicone, so you can easily get the dough out. And I realized I just plopped my dough on a part that I did not grease. That's gonna be fun. Because see how, I don't know if you can tell, but it's super stringy, which is good, because that means your dough's gonna be nice and soft. Really nice. But it's kind of makes for difficult to get out, which is another reason why I want a KitchenAid, because this is just a mess to clean. Did I already mention that? It's a pain to clean. Okay. The other thing I love having is a dough scraper. I'll link everything down below. So we're gonna just get this back to my greased section. And what I like to do, let me bring you in a little bit closer. Okay, this is a sticky dough. I probably could have added a little bit more flour. You can flour your workspace, but I like to use oil, especially like in this case, I could have used flour to get a little bit more flour in there. But what I like to do is kind of, I give it, it's so sticky. Okay, let me spray my counter again. Okay, here we go. The oil also makes the dough really nice and soft. Okay, so I like to just kind of get it into a nice tight ball so it has nice tension on the top while it rises. And this takes practice. Oh my goodness, this is a super sticky dough. Okay, and we're gonna just plop it. Oh my goodness. So much for trying to get it in a nice little ball. Oh, maybe I should have floured this. Okay, so we're gonna let this sit and rise for about 2 to 3 hours. I'm gonna cover it with my lid. Now, if your house is really cold, you'll wanna put it in a warm oven, but it's kind of warm in here today. So I'm gonna leave it on the counter and check it in about 2 or 3 hours. Here is my sprouted grain that I showed you how I dehydrated from the last video. You can see the little sprouts in there. So I put this in a bag until I was gonna grind it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. This is my grinder here. I have the Wonder Mill. And again, I bought this and the Bosch machine 13 years ago when we got married with our wedding money. And this has served me well over the years. My flour all ground up. I don't know how many cups it was. Maybe I should have checked to figure out how many cups it was. But anyways, I'm gonna make some bananas, some banana muffins, snacks for the kids. I have a very ripe banana over there. It's a little past its prime for eating, actually very much past its prime for my taste because I like mine a little bit green. The kids will eat it a little bit more yellow, but it has some brown spots. So with 1 banana, my recipe calls for 3 bananas. I did a recipe video on my other channel, so link it down below, but I'll also share it with you here how to get really nice creamy banana muffins. So I have some bananas from the freezer and you can totally pull them out. So when we have some overripe bananas that I don't end up making banana bread with or something, if I just gotta get them in the freezer before they go really bad, then what I'll do is I'll take each banana, break it up into 3 parts and freeze it. That way when I use my, when I go to pull them out for my banana bread recipe, I just grab 3 and I know that's 1 banana. So my recipe calls for 3 bananas. So we got some bananas thawing. They're very ripe. We'll just use a little bit less liquid because we'll use that liquid as the bananas thaw. It makes its own liquid. So we're going to do this and then I'm gonna grind some other fresh flour that's not sprouted because I have a whole wheat sourdough starter and so I'm actually out of wheat in the fridge. So let's make some banana muffins really quick. So the secret to nice and creamy, delicious, non-chunky banana bread is to use a food processor for all your liquid ingredients. I'm gonna peel my overripe banana and I'm gonna save my banana peel because we have compost worms and they love banana peels. And then this right here, let me show you, my nice ripe bananas thawing. So I'm just gonna put those right in there. And I'm gonna go ahead and, whoops, it's backwards, puree these up, and then we'll add the rest of our dry ingredients, or sorry, wet ingredients. About 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I don't measure. 2 eggs. And these are delicious farm fresh eggs from our chickens. So the original recipe calls for about 2 tablespoons of milk. I'm going to be using some coconut milk and I'm only gonna do eyeball 1 tablespoon. If we need to add some more later on, we can because I had about 1 tablespoon of liquid from my frozen bananas. For my oil, I'm gonna add 1/3 cup of oil. And I'm just using avocado oil. It's a very neutral flavored oil. You can use coconut oil, you can use butter, you can use whatever kind of oil you want. I just don't feel like melting coconut oil. And then 1/3 cup of honey. The original recipe calls for 1/2 cup, but I feel like that's too much with all the sweetness of the bananas coming through. All right, I've got 2 cups of my sprouted wheat flour, and you can use whole wheat flour, you can use regular all-purpose flour, but I find that sprouted wheat is easier. Sprouted wheat and sourdough is easier for me to digest, and I haven't tried this sourdough yet, so we're just gonna stick with the sprouted. So half a teaspoon of salt, I'm just gonna eyeball it. 1 tablespoon of aluminum-free baking powder. If you have regular baking powder and it's not aluminum-free, that's fine, but I like to buy the aluminum-free kind because I don't need to add any more aluminum in my body than I need to. Teaspoon and a half, or well, heaping teaspoon and a half of cinnamon because I love cinnamon.
Aluminum-free.
Now I'm going to add in my liquid ingredients. I also forgot to mention you can use buttermilk in this recipe if you have that as well. And I'm going to give this a good mix. I don't want to overmix it. Sometimes I'll add some mini chocolate chips in here. That's really good. I don't have any, so it's just going to be plain banana muffins. I'm gonna grind some regular wheat, like I said, for my sourdough, and I'm just gonna stick it in the freezer. I buy these big buckets from Costco because we have a local mill here. On hand in the freezer to feed my sourdough starter. So every time I run out, I just grind some more and throw it in the freezer. This is also what I use for like making tortillas or muffins if I don't have the sprouted sourdough. We also make a lot of homemade pizza. The ones that aren't sourdough, I use half whole wheat and white flour. So it's just nice to have this on hand in the freezer. So this has been rising and it's doubled nicely. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's quite doubled. I'm gonna grease the back of my hand and I'm just gonna punch it down. Let's go ahead and try these and see how they taste. Delicious. I could have cooked them a little bit long. Well, no, I guess they're done. So the last baking project that we're going to be doing today, because I'm getting exhausted, I need to take a little rest. We're gonna be making some sourdough crackers. Now, I have a recipe video that I posted on my main channel a couple years ago. So that's the recipe I have here. These are rosemary, I think. And so they've been in the freezer. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll make my cracker dough and then I'll just freeze it and pull it out when I want to go make crackers. So this has been in the freezer for a while, and then I took it out this morning to thaw. So it's nice and cold and thawed, so I can easily roll it out. Sourdough crackers, the edge ones tend to brown first, so I'm going to take those off and then pop them back in. And then separating them a little bit helps them cook a little bit better, because I like to cook them till they're nice and crispy, or else they're just kind of soggy and dense. Bread is ready to pre-shape, so we're gonna spray the counter, spray my hands, rub it on my bench scraper. Going to dump it on the counter. And it's actually not too sticky now, so I think it's good. I kind of panicked earlier. And I'm just gonna divide it in half. Sometimes I get out the scale, but I'm not gonna worry about that today. And we're gonna just kind of do a pre-shape where we flatten it out, fold it over in thirds, and then we're just gonna leave it like this. I read that this kind of helps keep it shaped a little bit better when you bake it. So we're just going to do this. And I'm going to cover one with this and get a towel. Oh, sorry, that was really loud. Towel for this one. We're going to let it set for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll shape them and put them in the loaf pan. We're gonna cover these and let these rise until they're about doubled. So like maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours. The crackers are all finished and I sampled them. They're delicious. So if you've never tried sourdough crackers, you've got to try it. I've got them in an airtight container, one of my Pyrex glass containers with the snap lock lid, and I'm just gonna keep these in the pantry, and they'll probably only last a few days because they're so good and the kids love them. Our bread is now ready to go in the oven. It rose a little bit. I'm gonna slash it down the middle just to give it some expanding room. And I really need a lame, sharp knife to cut it, but I'll just use my serrated one for now. Here is the bread all baked up. It kind of split a little bit. It didn't rise as high as it normally does. I think it's because I didn't have enough flour in there, but it smells amazing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this cook with me. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments if you like seeing this kind of content and what other things you'd like to see here on my little mini backyard homestead. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.